The ticker is NVDA, and as of this August 2026 morning, the price action is dancing on a knife's edge. While the talking heads on financial news spend their time fixated on daily percentage moves or whether the latest quarterly print beat the consensus estimate by a few pennies, they are entirely missing the structural physics of the modern data center. If you're looking at this through the lens of a semiconductor stock, you're already behind. Nvidia isn't a hardware company anymore. It is the central nervous system of the global compute economy, currently navigating a twilight zone of capital expenditure where the market is terrified of the word overcapacity while simultaneously witnessing the largest industrial build-out in human history. The hidden reality that the retail crowd, and frankly many institutional algorithms gloss over, is the thermal and data transfer bottleneck. We've reached a point where the raw flops of a Blackwell or Rubin GPU are no longer the primary constraint. The bottleneck has shifted to the interconnect fabric and the sheer power delivery required to keep these clusters from hitting a thermal wall. When you hear people talk about Nvidia's margins, they are really talking about the cost of solving physics problems at scale. Nvidia has effectively become a systems integrator of the highest order, forcing the entire industry into their ecosystem, CUDA, where the switching costs are now so prohibitively high that even the most ambitious hyperscalers, despite their own custom silicon dreams, remain tethered to Nvidia's flywheel. This isn't just about selling chips, it's about controlling the energy and information flow of the AI-native future. Current market dynamics are a masterclass in institutional shakeout behavior. Since the market entered this recent air pocket phase, we've seen a divergence between the narrative of stalling hyperscaler spending and the quiet, persistent accumulation from sophisticated capital. You see the profit-taking from funds that are looking to rebalance after a massive multi-year run, but look closer at the institutional flows. The conviction is shifting toward the multi-year backlog. When you hear the overvalued sentiment echoed on forums and social feeds, remember that the valuation is being calculated on legacy assumptions of what a semiconductor company should trade at, 30 or 40x earnings. But if you value Nvidia as a platform as a service provider, that multiple starts to look like a bargain compared to the long-term cash flows of the AI infrastructure it powers. Ask yourself, in your own portfolio, are you viewing NVDA as a stock to trade on a beat or miss quarter, or are you holding shares in the foundational layer of the 21st century compute grid? If you're holding, are you doing it for the next earnings report, or are you waiting for the inevitable re-rating as these massive capital projects begin to print actual tangible revenue? Historically, the market has always struggled to price in the transformation of an arms dealer. Think back to the transition from consumer-facing gaming processors to the data center powerhouse we see today. The street kept trying to fit Nvidia into a gaming cycle box, repeatedly missing the pivot to high-performance computing. Today, the framing is just as flawed, only the box is larger. Analysts talk about data center revenue as if it's a monolithic bucket, ignoring the shift towards sovereign AI projects, governments and nations now racing to secure their own compute sovereignty. When countries like the UK, France, and Singapore sign multi-billion-dollar contracts for localized AI infrastructure, that isn't a cyclical consumer demand, that is state-level strategic positioning. Nvidia is no longer competing for your gaming desktop, it is competing for the backbone of national security and industrial output. Looking ahead, the catalysts are structural, not superficial. The ramp of the Blackwell and Rubin architectures isn't just a product launch, it's a systematic upgrade of global infrastructure that creates a multi-year tailwind for demand. While geopolitical tensions and supply chain constraints remain the perennial risk card played by bears, Nvidia has arguably the most resilient supply chain positioning in the entire tech sector, precisely because the world cannot afford it to fail. The risk isn't that Nvidia's chips won't work, it's whether the world's power grids and cooling infrastructure can keep up with the pace of compute they are enabling. As we move through the remainder of 2026, keep your eyes off the short-term noise and on the strong visibility of the $1 trillion plus demand cycle. In a market obsessed with the next move, the true advantage belongs to those who recognize that we are still in the very first innings of an industrial shift, and the price noise you see today is simply the sound of the market trying to find the floor for the most important technology company of our time.